Hello there. Greetings. So about 2 years ago I made a little vlog where I talked about my relationship with food, which is weird and I'll get to that later on in the video. It was a really good thing to do and it felt very validating, and it was nice to have it out there as public knowledge that, like, my brain is weird in this way and it's not a secret or anything. I figured I could make a sort of sequel video where I talk about all of the ways that my brain is weird, not just food, because my brain is weird in many ways. So this video is going to be kind of divided into two parts. I like to think of them as the fun part and the less fun part. The fun part is where I talk about neurodiversity and neurodivergence and all the weird things going on with my brain in that way. The other one is where I talk about mental health. Mental health's a fun conversation, isn't it? Okay, let's start with part one, which is dyslexia and specific learning difficulties. So when I was 17, I was diagnosed with specific learning difficulties, specifically dyslexia. Specific learning difficulties is kind of an umbrella term for, like, dyslexia, ADHD, various other things, but they were testing me for dyslexia. But for some reason, the way they phrased it was diagnosed with specific learning difficulties exhibiting the characteristics of dyslexia and dysgraphia. The weird thing about this specific thing, this different wiring in my brain, is I have no idea how a normal person thinks. Like, I know for a fact from the tests that my brain works differently from most people's, but given the fact that I've never had most people's brain, I can't compare the two. I can't say here's how I'm different, because I don't actually know what it's like to be you. Provided, of course, you have a neurotypical brain, which you might not do, but if you do, that must be nice. So I found that the best way to explain it is actually with the numbers that the test scores gave me, because that helps people understand just the scope of the deviation from the norm that my brain is. So I took a test called the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, which gives you 4 different scores. For a neurotypical, just your average Joe, not dyslexic, not ADHD, not anything, there is a standard deviation number. So all 4 of the scores come within 23 points of one another. The scale kind of doesn't have a top and it kind of doesn't have a bottom, but once you get past like 130 in the top end of the scale, it's like, okay, that's just very, very high. And once you get below 70 on the scale, that's just like, okay, that's just very, very, very low. Got it. So, standard deviation of 23. The difference between my highest of the 4 scores and my lowest is over 70 points. So why is it over 70 points? Difference between the two? My highest score is the Verbal Comprehension Index score, which is the score for how well I understand words, basically. And my score on that is 145, which is... I don't want to be bragging or anything, but it has previously been referred to as genius level. However, my lowest score was processing speed, and I scored 74 for processing speed. If I'd scored that in the 1980s, they would have called that score of between 70 and 80, they called that borderline retarded in the 80s. Yeah, but the deviation is also really massive in between other things in there. So for example, the difference between processing speed and working memory is 26 points, which is above standard deviation, and that's between my 2 lowest scores. The deviation between working memory and perceptual reasoning, which is my middle lowest and middle highest score, that is 25 points. I scored 125 on perceptual reasoning and 100 on working memory. So it's basically as spread out as it is possible for those scores to be. So in terms of percentiles, if this helps anyone, if anyone likes percentiles, I am in fact in the highest percentile for verbal comprehension, but the 4th lowest percentile for processing speed. So less than 1% of the population has better verbal comprehension than me, but 96% of the population has a higher processing speed. My brain is strange. It's a strange brain. So dyslexia tends to be characterized with having a processing speed that's more than 23 points below the general ability index. The general ability index is the average of the scores for perceptual reasoning and verbal comprehension. So obviously my processing speed is well below that. But my working memory is also really low, and having low working memory is a symptom of ADHD. I'm not saying I have ADHD, I've not been diagnosed for it. It does come under the same categorization of specific learning difficulty, so that might be another weirdness with my brain, but I don't want to self-diagnose. So that was the fun bit. That was the nice, easy breezy, my brain's a little bit different kind of bit. Let's move on, shall we? So at the beginning of that section, I said about how I don't know what it's like to be any different from what I am when it comes to dyslexia. That is not necessarily the case about everything with how my brain functions. So recently I spent some time looking back on what I was like at university and what my university experience was like. There were a bunch of things that I remember where I was just like, those are not the actions of someone who was okay. I do feel like a lot of the feelings I felt when I was at university, I still feel, and they still come up quite a lot. But I've just spent a lot of time recently looking back on university and thinking, wow, I was not okay. So I want to say at this point, I was never diagnosed with any kind of anxiety or depression or anything like that. But if I didn't have some kind of anxiety disorder at the time, I can't think of any other explanation. So at university, I never really went out with friends. I kind of did once or twice near the end. I went to a couple of house parties that I didn't really enjoy, and I went out to a bar once. I didn't enjoy that either. But I have a specific memory of my first year of university where I was going to go out with my flatmates, and I did. I got, got my nice clothes on, got a nice shirt and jacket, and like, hey, looking nice, yeah, And they wanted to go to some club in central London. I'd never been to a club before. So we were getting the tube. We had to change tubes at one point, and I was just like, oh, I just need to go to the loo. And there was a toilet there happened to be a toilet at that station, and I just went into the toilet and locked myself in there and just kind of just hugged myself and was like, I can't do this. I cannot do this. I can't do this. What was it I thought I couldn't do? I have no idea. I don't know, but just whatever I was doing, I thought I couldn't do it. I had said to them before I left, like, if a train comes, just go, I'll catch up, it'll be fine. I was just sort of leaning against the door of the bathroom, hoping that they would just leave and I wouldn't have to tell them I don't know why, but I can't do this. Yeah. Anyways, eventually I ended up just coming out of the bathroom because they texted me, oh, there was a train, but we decided to wait for you. Ugh. So I ended up coming out of the bathroom basically being like, I need to go home. I'm really sorry. Don't make me explain this because I can't. I just need to go home right now. So yeah, that was my undergraduate experience. So I've got a bunch of stories like this. Like, so when I was sort of 14 or 15, I went to a kind of music summer camp, and played the guitar and, that kind of thing. And there were some people that I met there, one of whom was from the southwest of England, like me. So I found out that her band was playing a pub that is literally less than 5 minutes walk from my house. So I decided to go. I left the house. I said bye to my parents because they were there just, you know, having dinner or something. I left my house and got to the pub. I couldn't go in. Don't ask me to explain why. I couldn't go in. So I walked around the block a couple of times. I considered just going back home, but I told my parents that I was going to this thing and I couldn't go back home because I'd said I was doing this and yeah, it doesn't make any sense, I know, but I couldn't go back home. I couldn't go in here. And I ended up messaging someone. I think it was someone that I knew from uni or someone I knew from school, I'm not sure. So eventually, after like an hour of walking around the block, I decided to go into the pub, and I'd not seen any of the acts that were coming on before them, but I got in there in time to see this person play, and it was great. I was like, oh hey, it's that person that I met sort of 3 or 4 years ago. And like the whole point was that I was going to see them again, and I was going to go talk to them afterwards and be like, hey, do you remember me? We went to that guitar camp thing together, and yeah, and I just didn't talk to her afterwards. I just didn't. I just couldn't do it. I didn't have any kind of like romantic interest in this person. This wasn't me just, you know, being a chicken and not asking out the girl, which is like a whole thing which I understand. This was just like, this wasn't like, oh, here's a person who's a celebrity that I really would be afraid of embarrassing myself in front of. This was just a person. I couldn't do it. Another thing, I don't know, I'm not sure if like this would just be what anyone did, but I was in a lot of shows in school, like musicals and that sort of thing, and it was great for my confidence at the time. Not that I had any confidence to begin with, but it gave me some. Before every single show, at least for the first 2, I would just be thrown up in the toilets before every show, every night, because I was so terrified, but I knew I couldn't back out. But I did another show with my university musical theatre society a couple of years ago. It's still my cover picture on Facebook because I don't have a life. But during that show, I was fine. No need for vomiting. So I'm guessing it wasn't really a normal thing to do. I didn't know that at the time, though. I have a pretty good memory that, particularly during first year at university, I got into this habit of taking a lot of showers, which might sound a bit weird, but yeah, I would take a lot of showers when I was living in halls, particularly the first year that I was living in halls. Like, I would get up in the morning, and before I went to lectures, I would have a shower, and then I would come home, and I would feel, I don't know what I would feel. I would feel just not good. I'd feel like I wanted to hide. So I'd just get in the shower, and I'd have like a half-hour shower where I was not even trying to get myself clean. I wasn't washing my hair. I was just kind of sitting there in the water, and yeah. And then I'd try to, you know, do productive things, work on essays, and then it would get to the evening, and I have another shower before I had food. And I don't know why. It was just safe in there. Well, part of me thought that was normal. Like, how were alarm bells not ringing? Going, Matthew, you're not okay. I'm doing a lot better now, just in case anyone's wondering. Something worth saying is that I I've improved a lot. I think, I don't know if I'm still feeling more anxiety than most people do. I don't know, but I kind of regularly go out to pubs with friends, because now I have friends. But yeah, it doesn't scare me. It definitely used to. So, big improvement. What? Going to pubs. Making friends. Not crying in the shower. So speaking of drastic improvements, food. So just a TLDR for my previous video. When I was a kid, I had some kidney problems. I took a bunch of medication for those kidney problems, and the kidneys got better. But the thing is, the medication had, like, nausea as a side effect, so I was constantly ill from the age of sort of 4 till about 7, I think. Feeling just nauseous the whole time. Everything made me want to be sick. And I just went off food. I went off anything more adventurous than toast and butter. And don't get me wrong, I'm not better yet. Like, most foods still make me feel weird, and I still get this sort of weird feeling in my whole body, like, no, don't eat this. But I'm learning to overcome it. I have, in the past year or so, just got to being fine with eating burgers. They're nice. Occasionally I'll have a food that's got, like, 80% stuff that I know I like, and then the 20% of stuff I don't know that I like isn't enough to just completely ruin it for me. Which might sound like nothing, but that's a really big deal, given the fact that I only discovered that, pizza was nice about 5 years ago. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a win. I think I'm gonna end this video with a bit of a weird one, which is bees and wasps. No one likes bees and wasps, but I really don't like bees and wasps, to the point of phobia. So I work in cafes quite a lot. I do editing work with my headphones on, editing away on my laptop. Like, I will have planned out my day so that I'm like, okay, I'm in this cafe for this 3 hours, and that's fine. That's where I plan to be. I will throw that out of the window if there is a wasp in the room. I will not be able to concentrate. I'll just be searching for it, and I won't be able to stop myself. As soon as I've seen one anywhere near me, I go into defense against wasp mode. And I don't know if it qualifies as an intrusive thought, but I won't be able to stop thinking about it until I've gone somewhere else. I've done something to fix it. If I'm walking along outside and a bee buzzes past, firstly I'm gonna go like, as it goes. Always looks weird. I've had many people look at me strangely when I've seen a wasp. But then beyond that, I'm gonna be, my little bit of this here will kind of go like, and it'll touch me slightly different. I'll be like, what the fuck was that? Or if I've got a backpack on with like straps swinging and the strap sort of bumps into my leg, I'll be like, no. Yeah, I get into a weird headspace with that. If anyone's hung out with me outside in the summer and I've been incredibly distracted, that's probably why. It's weird, right? This one comes and goes. I don't know if I'm ever going to be entirely past that. So yeah, that's a video. That's a little update on my brain, on sort of, mental health overall, I would say. I guess it's kind of a mental health checkup, but not all of it's mental health, because the first bit's just like, here's my brain, and then here's how healthy my brain is. Now you know me a little bit better. I hope I actually put this video out. It'll be fine. It's good. I did a good job. This is good. Yes. Excellent. Thank you. Like and subscribe if somehow this is the video that you've discovered me by. I'm not expecting that though. I think this is mainly just a video for people who know me to understand me slightly better. Thanks for watching.